Hi guys, this is Sujayram, and we are back with another event. The event's topic is about how to get started with full stack software development. And here is Silvana Gutierrez from Bolivia, system engineers with more than 7 years of experience as a developer, experience in teaching and higher education. She currently works as an application development officer at SCGIP Bolivia. She is mentor lead organizer of the community of Google Developers Group in La Paz. Also ambassador of Google's Women Tech Makers La Paz and co-organizer of Hackers and Founders Bolivia. She is a tech enthusiast and advocate for women's empowerment. And here is Marco Lianardini. He's a system engineer with 6 years of experience in area of web and mobile development. During the last year and a half, an enthusiast and fan of Flutter reason that led him to be the main organizer of Google Devs Bolivia. Main Flutter and member of GDG La Paz. With these communities, he promotes, participates in different events and activities, spreading new technologies and concepts in the area of software development.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot for the invitation. Well, let's start. Okay, who I am? I'm sorry. I will sharing my screen. Okay. Okay. Who I am? My name is Silvana Gutierrez. I am web developer. I currently web developer for full stack at the government from Bolivia. And in my free time, I like to much participate in communities about the technologies and entrepreneurship. Is for that I am mentor lead organizer Google developers groups in my city, and I am Google Women Maker ambassador. And I am also co-organizer of Hackers and Founders from Bolivia. And I am co-founder in Aurora Soft, its own project. Okay, if you want to follow me, this is my social media in Twitter or in LinkedIn. Okay, let's start. Today we talk about development full stack, how to prepare for be a development full stack, developer full stack. This is the content. What is a full stack developer? Abilities, a full stack developer. Why become a full stack developer? How to become a full stack developer? And we'll see the most popular language and web frameworks. And the last one, what is a full stack mobile developer? Okay. What is a full stack developer? A programmer skilled in coding both the front-end and back-end parts of a web application or mobile application is called a full stack web developer. Remember that the front end is the part of the web application that the user sees and uses. And the backend, these are parts of the application that function behind the senses and execute the command issued by the user. This usually includes, for example, in the backend, logical process, databases, validations of users, server configurations. A full stack developer is not expected to be an expert in all areas to the front-end and backends. The individual needs to be knowledgeable in all the technologies involved, should be able to understand the process happening within the entire application. So, in this graphic, can you see a profile of the full stack developer? Can you see 54.9% we are developers full stack. Full stack developers translate user requirements into the overall architecture and implement the new systems. A full stack developer doesn't necessarily master all technologies. However, the professional is expected to work on the client as well as server sides and understand what is going on when developing an application. He or she should have a genuine interest in all software technology. This is a graphic from Stack Overflow survey the last year. If you see in the, this is disponible in your page. Okay, abilities or skills of a full stack developer. In many occasions, it is confused that the full stack developer is only a technical expert. However, he needs to have well developed his soft skills, for example, communication, creativity, personal management, time management, etc. This is very important. To be considered a full stack developer, it is first necessary to have mastered the front end or back end. Then the remaining knowledge is acquired with practice and time. Finally, a characteristic of a full stack, very important, is that they are extremely curious and constantly in research of knowledge. This is a characteristic mainly. Okay, continues. Why become a full stack developer? What do you think? That makes full stack development the career for you. The full stack developers continually need to update their skills, sets, and technical know-how, meaning you want to learn new stuff all the time. That actually benefits you out in the long run. You will be more important on any team with the knowledge that's cutting edge. Because of the wide range of skills needed to be a full stack web developer, there are some candidates applying for positions, leaving more opportunity for adequate candidates. So the job outlook for web developers is expected to grow 13%, for example, by 2026, which is faster than the average rate for all occupations. Okay, this is one reason for why you're to become a full stack developer. Okay, continues. How to become a full stack developer? Um, it is important mention a full stack developer needs to know the following technologies. For example, HTML, CSS. The web is built in these technologies. It's very, very important. You know about HTML, CSS is basic. Is the tool that helps developer input content into a website, and CSS is a design tool used to alter the appearance of the web applications. But both are essential tools for a full stack developer and are taught in all courses, whether online or in person. Other technology it is JavaScript. This is a must-have for any full stack developer. This can be used in both front-end and back-end process. Browsers are built in JavaScript can be used as a server-side language as well. So other backend technologies, after mastering HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you need to learn at least one language used for coding backend process. The function occurring in the backend of a web application are database operations, user validation, and logical operations. Any course, whether online or otherwise, most often will teach you backend technology. For example, we have a Node.js, Golang, PHP, Java, Python, and SQL, for example. Learning one of the language should suffice, but you should attain proficiency in it. It's very important. Choose one technologies. Okay, this is step one. Learn necessary programming language. Let's go to second step. Refine the knowledge. To understand complex concepts, you need to be sure about the fundamentals. JavaScript and HTML, CSS from the base of web development. For any novice, you should be clear about all aspects of these technologies. Second, test your knowledge. Create test web page and apply the concepts learned in the course, in your university, in your job, etc. JavaScript can be found in 99% of the web applications. Become proficient in its use. So, knowledge of programming concepts can help improve coding skills. Some theories acknowledges to acquire before pushing ahead are, for example, servers and their functioning, two networks and their nodes, web hosting environments, algorithms and their formulation, data structure, types, proprietors and use, programming technologies, databases and their management. It's very important you know these technologies. You should be able to piece together the different parts of the application and create a rollout of the parts. For this, you should understand how each part works, its role in the bigger scheme of things, and how one part connects to the other. Right? Okay, this is the second step. Step 2. Let's the step 3. Become familiar with all technologies, but master of one. As the scope of your learning expands, you will realize that there is much more to learn than you possibly can master. Most programmers fail because they try to learn too much of too many things. There is no need for such effort. Master one and understand the rest. Learn how to work in the team, and that should be good enough. As your experience grows, your easy with the technologies will also improve. Take pains to specialize in one technology. And so my advice is you choose a technology popular among clients, for example. This should help you compete effectively with others in the field and produce outstanding work, for example. With the way the economy is growing with lower taxes, you should have a break career ahead and be able to regulate other stuff if you wish to. Okay, so this is step 3. Continue with the step 4, how to become a full stack developer. Step 4, take a course. Even the best prepared should be willing to keep learning new things to remain relevant. New technologies, join the forum frequently. No one knows everything. A full stack developer needs to stay abreast of this change. Taking online or virtual courses is an easy way to keep upskilling. Among the many organizations offering technology courses online, there are a couple of them. Since the objective is to learn theory and get practical exposure within the shortest time possible, choose courses that offer mentoring by knowledgeable coders. It is important. A flexible schedule that matches yours. Projects as part of the curriculum tutoring to clarify those. This is would be either individually or in groups. This is the step 4 how to become a full stack developer. Let's the next step. Get practical exposure. What is this? The most challenging part of the process is when you have a thorough understanding of all the necessary technologies, for example, HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, or backend programming database on HTTP REST. Time has come the use all these knowledge in an application. For this, you need, for example, the right way to structure code. It means to separate files, environment, the host large media files, the right data structures to use, location of each computational task, client side or server side. Theoretical knowledge can be obtained by reading online materials, but to understand application architecture properly, you must implement an actual web application or mobile application too. Working a team is the ideal way to accomplish this. Stroke an individual can also develop an application alone. This is exercise adds the all essential practical exposure to the technology toolkit of a full stack developer. A few companies may insist on an applicant having a degree in computer science to apply for the positions, but most will overlook education if a candidate can exhibit the necessary coding abilities. So it's for that is very important practice and exposure to knowledge. Okay, continues with the next step. Step 6, take up additional assignments. What is it? Join additional projects in your company or in your university that work on technologies outside your expertise. This way, you will upskill and add extra value to your organization or university as well. Most companies will appreciate this type of initiative, so it's very important. Okay, now let's see what technologies should learn in front-end and back-end and both to be a full stack developer. Okay, front-end technologies. To become a front-end developer, you know about HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, frameworks and libraries of JavaScript, for example, Angular, React, Vue, and the popular is jQuery. Also, you know frameworks and libraries, the CSS, for example, Bootstrap and Materialize, and processor of CSS, for example, SAS, LESS, among other. Other tool very important that you know, it is control the versions. Is that, for example, Git is very important version controls, and test tools for tests, for example, technologies for tests, Jest, Mocha, Jasmine, Cypress. You know about two APIs to know how to communicate with the backend, right? And you know you should know about the servers commands. For example, for the management packets, for example, npm, yarn, etc. And finally, let's one, you know about the SL certifications or certificate SL, secure, secure. So this is the technologies front end. If you to become a front end developer, you must know these technologies. Okay, continues with backend technologies. To become a backend technologies, you need to hold these technologies a little, you know, how to create front-end application, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but it's more important if you choose language, the program, the server side, for example, Java, Python, JavaScript, PHP, Ruby, Golang, Dart, etc. There are so many language. Also, frameworks, the server side, for example, is Spring for Java, Flask, Express for Node.js. We have it to Laravel, Ruby on Rails, etc. You know about the servers, web administration, Windows Server or Linux server for the Apache NGX, for example, or IEs. Other technology you should know is data structure, algorithms, and also security. About security, it is very important in the backend side. For example, for the database, can you use MySQL, Postgres, MongoDB, SQL, etc. Well, tuning is necessary. Save the information or save the media include in the cloud. Is for that important you know about the technologies of the cloud. For example, Azure, Amazon Web Service, or Google Cloud Platform, etc. You also should know creation the APIs. It's very important, and it is basically for a backend developer, and also control versions too with Git. And finally, it is very important the test. For example, on the performance, usability, etc. Okay, this is a diagram with all the areas involved in being a full stack developer. Can you see this graphic? There are 5 areas. for that is necessary to know for to become a full stack developer. The first is front end dev, and then second backend dev, third database, DevOps, and mobile app web. There are parts a full stack dev, and his examples for technology for one part. So here can we see examples about technologies that using in one part. Can you see it's very amplio. It is very big. The areas involved in being a full stack developer. Okay, let's continue. To finish this part, I want to show you some statistical data from last year. It is the data collected from Stack Overflow. As you can see in this graphic, unsurprisingly, for the 8 years in a row, JavaScript has maintained it is a stronghold as the most commonly used programming language. Going further down the list, we also see moderate gains for TypeScript. It gained out C in terms of popularity. Additionally, Ruby, once in the top 10 of this list as recently as 2070, has declined, being surpassed by newer, trainer technologies like Go and Kotlin. This is statistics from Stack Overflow the last year. There are some web frameworks. When focusing parallelly on web frameworks, we see that jQuery is still king, but is slowly losing ground to React.js and Angular year over year. We do see some consolidation as more than 35% of respondents use jQuery, React, a version of Angular, combining Angular, which represents Angular 2 Plus and Angular JS, or a flavor of ASP.NET or ASP.NET Core. So this is the principal web frameworks. If you choose one technology, this is the most using. Okay, and finally, I want to show you something that interests us all. Do you want to know how much a full stack developer earns? Can you see this graphic? Across the board, engineer managers Errors, DevOps specialists, and data engineers tend to receive the highest salaries. When focused on in the USA, we see some difference on the bottom of the salary spectrum. For example, in the USA, mobile developers and educators tend to have the higher salary. It's relative to other occupations when compared to the global developer population. But developer full stack, they earn about 54K. This is that relevant for if you decide to become a full stack developer. Okay, this is the presentation about full stack development, how to become a full stack developer. No? Well, it is all from me. I hope it was of your interest. I ask you a questions. You can answer it in comments and also leave my social media for any question too. So thank you very much. Now Marco tell us a little about mobile development. So let's go with him.
Thanks, Silvana. Sujai, we have some questions. I don't know if you want that Silvana maybe can answer right now or after my talk.
Yes, there are two questions. First one is, what is CORS?
What is course?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can answer that. Course is basically closed-oriented resources sharing. It's about to limit some resources from the server in order to another websites. For example, I can configure my course to accept only some requests from a specific server or API or IP. Uh, that's security level. Also it can create some conflicts in localhost because some backend configuration only accepts a localhost requests. So if you deploy some in another server, you must configure the course policy. And which tool is best to test code functionality? That's a good one. I would say the best tools is the unit testing, integration testing. That would be the first approach in order to test our code functionality. Another test I would say is the redundant test that would help us that would help us to measure how how no, the max limit about our user concurrency we can have. That would be the two questions. Sujai, I don't know if I can start with my talk.
Yes, sir. Yeah, there is no more questions, sir. You can start.
Okay, super. Let me share my screen. I would send you. I think that is this one. Okay,
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
super. So uh, today I will talk about something about mobile development, focusing on Flutter, but we are going to see another possibilities or alternatives we have right now. Mm, let me introduce myself. I'm Marco Leonardini. I'm from Bolivia. I'm a mobile Flutter developer. I work with Flutter almost 2 years. It's a super nice framework in order to create mobile applications, and we are going to see some features of this framework. But let's start with frameworks for mobile development. You know that always is good to have a wide variety of options in order to start the mobile development. As Silvana said, mobile development is part of a full stack profile, so we have to know the basic or at least the alternatives we have in order to create a mobile app. So the first approach I would say is the native apps that these apps are built with, in case of iOS, they can be built with Swift or Objective C using a OS environment, a Mac OS environment, and using Xcode and testing all the applications in iOS devices. This can be a limitant because you need you must have a Mac with Mac OS in order to build an iOS app. On the other hand, we have the Android iOS. This iOS was launched release from of Google. Uh, you can use Java in order to build an Android app, or in the last years, Kotlin has become a stronger option in order to create this kind of native apps. For native apps, you must consider that you must learn two paths in order to create the separated apps. So another alternative in this kind of mobile application would be a unit. A unit build a hybrid application because they uh, share features about native applications and web applications. Let's remember that a unit uses HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in the background in order to create a mobile application. Um, these kind of applications uh, have a good uh, target, but we know that the performance of hybrid application is not as well as the native apps are. So this would be the first hybrid alternative in order to create uh, mobile applications. The second one is React Native. This framework was launched by Facebook and is similar to a unit because it uses HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but it has a little bit better performance on the mobile side, let's say. Um, React also has good works with all the native resources of the mobile device. Let's say GPS, camera. You can use all that stuff in order to build or in order to add features or functionality to your applications. And also it can you can build with React Native some web applications, so you are targeting three platforms: web, iOS, and Android. And that's cool because you reduce sometimes your development time. You reduce maybe the team, because with one team using React Native you can build applications. And another option would be Xamarin. This is a particular framework because it uses C Sharp as a main language for mobile development. It uses a .NET environment. Um, let's see that Xamarin create a virtual machine in order to run all the code we we write on with using C sharp. It's very popular, but it has some uh, performance issues. So we have to work a lot of in trying to improve these issues on performance. But it's an option, and it's I, I I saw so many apps built with Xamarin, and they are working and even they are in App Store and Play Store. But you decide if you want to learn Xamarin, Ionic, or React Native. And last but not least, we have responsive design. We can access our web apps from a mobile device, but we have to consider that we need to build the web application using responsive designs in order to create a nice UI and a nice user experience. That's important. Okay, so let's talk about Flutter. What is Flutter? Basically, Flutter is a portable toolkit for building beautiful native fast experience. So, Flutter is the Doodles UI toolkit for building beautiful natively compiled application for mobile, web, and desktop targets from a single code base. This is super important because with only one framework and with one programming language, you can reach almost five platforms: iOS, Android, Linux, macOS, Windows, and web. That's super cool. That's a great feature of Flutter. So let's see some characteristics about Flutter. The first thing would be that Flutter allows us to create or handcraft beautiful experience where your brand and design comes to the forefront. In other cases, you are, let's say, you have to use the design guidelines of the framework. For example, Ionic, you can use material design, but it's quite difficult to create your own design guideline or to show all the brand stuff that you have in the designs. With Flutter, it is easier to create. Well, you can use all material design uh, or Cupertino guidelines. That those are guidelines for iOS apps, or you can customize your guidelines. You can customize your components, your widgets, and stylish it in order to your brand and design. The second one would be that Flutter is fast. It compiles to your source. Sorry, it compiles your source code to machine code. It's very important because in hybrid frameworks, it creates a bridge between native platform and the app uh, code. So there is a lack of performance. Flutter it compiles directly to machine code, so is the performance is native. That's very important because um, the user experience would be similar to a native app. Uh, After that, I would say that Flutter allows to be more productive. Using hot reloads allows you to make changes while your app is running, and you can see the results immediately. This is a quite interesting feature of Flutter because while you are developing an app, you can watch you must watch all the changes running uh, and see them immediately. For example, let's say we have a bug on some form. Um, we don't need to rebuild and recompile our application using hot reload, we are going to see all the changes on the device while the app is running. That's super cool. Um, After that, let's remember that Flutter is a open source project. You can download the project and see the code directly from GitHub. And the main feature that is open source would be that Flutter has hundreds of contributors uh, that creates a community where everybody can teach and can learn from another people. Uh, Another thing would be that uh, a bit new news is that Flutter now became from a mobile framework to a portable framework. This is important because we not only are going to build mobile applications, we are building portable applications in order to reach multi platforms. So let's see a little bit more about fast development. We are going to use Hot Reload basically every minute in our developing journey because it paints our application in milliseconds. Um, that help us to see all the changes as we said that. Also, the hot reload reloads in lesser than 1 second. You don't need to recompile and rebuild or rerun your app or project. And it works for simulators, Android emulators on iOS, and it works on physical devices. It also works on, let's say, on browsers. You can see all the changes in browser while you are developing a web app. Another thing is that you can build expressive and flexible UIs. Material Design and Cupertino are built in inside the Flutter framework, but you can modify them. You can create your own guidelines of design. It also, and this is thanks to Dart, you can create rich animations. Uh, these rich animations would bring our app into life. It would create a good user experience for our users. um, the most important in this part is that you control every pixel of the screen. You you can modify every pixel. You can add, remove, create, increase the size, move. That's the most important in framework. You have control of every pixel. Native performance, as we said, um, Flutter compiles to machine code that allows us to have native performance. Also, it has some features that are platform specific, like scrolling physics. Let's say in iOS you have bouncing physics, and in Material you have a little bar with some color when you are scrolling. That's super cool because you don't have to create them. It's built in Flutter, and also navigation. Um, each as Android and as iOS has its custom navigation. Let's remember that in iOS the screen moves left or right according to your navigation, and in Android I think it uses some fading effect and opacity, and you don't have to code that navigation is building on Flyer, but also you can extend these navigation features in order to create new navigation effects. Let's say you can scale, you can move from top to bottom. That's awesome. And also you can use fonts and icons. You can personalize the fonts. You can use Google fonts in order to give some specific fonts and to our text. And you can use icons from material design, or you can use icons from Cupertino icons. But that's not all. You can use, let's say, font awesome icons. Font awesome icons also has a package in order to use that custom icons. And as a result of native performance, you will all your application will run at least at 60 frames per second. This is important because it creates a good user experience, because the app is not freezing, the app is not having lag, and mm, another options that the users don't like. So we have that Flutter is cross-platform. You can reach multiple platforms like mobile, Android and your iOS. You can reach desktop, Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, and you can reach web platform. And it can be used on Safari, Opera, Chrome, Firefox, even I don't think Edge, but yeah, the new Microsoft browser would be a target of our application built with Flutter. So um, a Flutter combines native performance and quality with high velocity development and multi-platform reach. That's the main key on Flutter. So I don't know if you watched some days ago. There were event called Flutter Engage. It was it was a quite interesting and impressive event, because in that event Flutter 2 was released in a stable version, in a stable release. This new release of Flutter 2 became with some huge updates, huge new features, and I will tell you some of them. Let's see. The first one would I would say that bring that is that web now is available in a stable release using Flutter 2. This is important because Flutter Web was in a beta release for almost 1 year and a half, and now only using the stable channel you can create web apps. That's super cool, and we are going to review some features that came with Flutter 2 and stable web support. I would say that the first thing is that Flutter Web supports progressive web apps. You don't have to configure anything about progressive web app like service worker or anything else. It becomes with that built in and from scratch from scratch. Also, there are more plugins in Flutter Web. You can use, let's say, Firebase Firestore plugin in order to add that functionality to your web apps. Uh, it also has interactive scroll bars. Before Flutter stable web support, we didn't have some scroll bars, so we don't know where we are on the web page. Now we have interactive scroll bars. Also, before the new release, we didn't have rich text functionality. We couldn't copy and paste some text. We could not select the text that we see on the screen. Now we can do that, and that's awesome. Uh, Stable web support also has modern browser support, desktop accessibility, custom URLs, keyword shortcuts. That's cool, and it comes with Canvas kit renderer. But Flutter 2 also brings us new more more news. macOS, Windows, Linux target platforms are now available in stable under under early release flag, but we can create an application for these platforms. So it's super cool. And we have now all the targets. We have mobile, tablets, we have desktop, we have Linux, we have macOS, and last but not least, if you see bottom at the left of the screen, you can watch a foldable device. This device has the feature that contains two screens. So let's say that Microsoft is contributing to with with Flutter in order to bring support to this kind of devices with two screens. You can create a Surface, a Microsoft Surface emulator in order to test our applications in those devices that have two screens. So Flutter is multi-platform. You can reach iOS, Android, web, Windows, macOS, Linux, and embedded devices. That's incredible because you are using only one framework and one language, only one programming language. Also, if you want to extend your your functionality, you have more than 15,000 packages in order to add functionality. Let's say Flutter block, badges, charts. If you want to create some charts, you can use a package. You only have to search for it. If you want to crawl, if you want to make HTTP crawls, you can use HTTP package or DO. If you want state management, you can use provider, Flutter block, or Qubit. If you want to create some custom tools, let's say, you can use a package that called tools. There is a lot of package. Those packages you can find on pub.dev. You can go there and add to the project. So talking a little bit more about Flutter, you must know that widgets are essential in Flutter. So we will find widgets everywhere in Flutter. So there are two kinds of widgets, stateless and stateful. Stateless widgets are basically those widgets that will not change their value in their time. And stateless would be an icon. An icon is not going to change their their value. And some text, some labels, let's say, they are not going to change text the value, so they are considered stateless. And on the other hand, we have stateful. Let's say, for example, a checkbox. When we mark a checkbox, the state is changing, so the value is changing, and that's why it's considered unstable. Um, let's remember also that everything is a widget in Flutter. We have Material app, Cupertino app, we have scaffolds, we have app bars, we have body, we have our custom widgets that will bring some UI interface, UI functionality, or we are creating some custom button. Let's say that will be our custom widget. So that will be all. Marco Leonardini, if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter, like at Leonardini07. And you can follow me on GitHub, like Marco Leonardini. And also you can follow Flutter Devs Bolivia. We constantly are creating some content, video content related to Flutter. Thank you for your time. I don't know if we have some questions. Hi, Sujai, are you there? I think you are muted.
Yeah. So there are two questions for Flutter, sir.
Super.
Yeah.
Let's see
First,
those.
yeah. First question is, what are the best IDE for Flutter?
Okay, that's a good one. Personally, I use BS Code because it has a cleaner interface. But you can use Android Studio, for example, if you have a good machine with a lot of RAM. You can use IntelliJ IDEA. The community version it's okay because you have to install the Flutter and Dart plugin. You also can use Xcode if you are developing for iOS or macOS environment. So I would say that each of them has their own features. So sometimes you are going to use VS Code, or sometimes you are going to use Android Studio, and sometimes you are going to use Xcode. So I wouldn't say that there is no best either for Flutter, but they are some options, and uh, those that is more accurate to you. You can use that.
There is another question, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Which one is better, Flutter or React Native?
Okay, that's another good question. Both of them are good. Both of them are the base of mobile development, but I would say that Flutter has better performance on mobile devices, and also you can reach more platforms with Flutter. React Native, uh, you can reach iOS and Android. Mm, but those frameworks are really good. I advise you to try to learn both of them because you will need in some time. That would be all the questions. Suhai,
Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching the live, and thank you everyone.
thank you.